Kasanov's header is short. Jackson lays the ball across, and it's a goal for Chelsea for Noni Madueke, and it is a mistake from the new signing that has set Chelsea up.
Oh, it's a moment where you feel like crying for the lad.
And it's going to break for Guardiola! And if anyone in Manchester City's ranks has deserved a goal, he has. Goalkeeper's come a long way and pays for it. And from 1-0 down, Manchester City have recovered their composure and lead 2-1. This could settle it for Manchester City. And now the feeling in this stadium will be that they are back.
Back-to-back wins in the Premier League for Manchester City. It's taken them into the top four. This time around, it was a 3-1 win at home to Chelsea. They had 15 shots to Chelsea's 10, 6 of them on target, 4 on target for Chelsea. All of Chelsea's big chances came in the first half of that game, and that's shown in terms of the XG. While City's was 2.7 overall, of Chelsea's 1.61, only 0.19 of that came in the second half of the game. Fairly square in terms of touches in the opponent's box, but more passes in the final third for Manchester City, and of course more possession for City as well. Most importantly though, they take all 3 points and move into 4th place in the table. And on the score sheet for Manchester City this evening, Erling Haaland, who joins us live from the Etihad right now. Congratulations, Erling. What did you make of that performance overall?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was a really good performance. We started really bad. We all know, but we kept going, and I think we controlled a lot of the game. Yeah, a great team performance.
And the fact that there are back-to-back wins, it's in what's going to be a really important week for the club as well.
Yeah, it's we have to keep winning games. We have to start, or how you want to say it. That's what we need to do. Yeah, today we showed great spirit, and now it's about keep going. It's about going to the next Champions League game. It's a must-win, and then we go to Arsenal, and then, as you can see, the schedule is plenty of games. So it's about getting ready for the next game as quick as possible, and to try to stay fit.
Erling, it's Gary Cahill. Congratulations, first of all. I just wanted to ask you, in the second half, it looked like you went more direct at times. Was that a tactic from the manager, or is that just about making decisions on the pitch?
I think Chelsea went really quick, clear man against man, and there was loads of space because obviously the line is really high. So as you've seen before, Edison been giving me a couple of assists, and I know how precise he can be. So it's about having the right timing with me and him, because everyone has a man and it's difficult to play. So sometimes even Manchester City can go quite direct, and I think that's a good thing. I think it was a really good goal and an amazing pass, of course, from Ed.
Erling, Jamie Redknapp. Hopefully you've got a screen there so you're going to see the goal in a second. You talk about the assist. You end up in a really good position with Chalobah on a 1v1, which is obviously with a modern game. But what this does, it gives you such an advantage when you're defending when someone's trying to defend against your power and pace.
Yeah, and it's difficult because you have to take the decision right there. You know what you're gonna do, if you're gonna try to take it down, or if he's gonna come and just pull you down or whatever. But I thought it was space in behind, so I tried to just let it go because he didn't go quite for the ball. Yeah, then it was about running, and then Sanchez was mistiming it, and then yeah, the opportunity was there to just chip it or shoot it in the back of the net, as you can see. It was a perfect pass.
Were you surprised to see Sanchez come running out towards you?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go. I thought he was going to get it at first because I just saw like in my eyesight. But then I quickly saw that he stopped, and then it was about trying to stay calm and put it in the back of the net.
And you had a new forward partner today in Marmoush. He had obviously a good debut. You seem to have a good connection with him. He's going to be an exciting player for the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think especially first half, he was really like, you can see that he has something special, and there's also a reason why Man City bought him, because he has something special. So he got straight in the team, and it's about getting to know him as quick as possible because so many games is coming and so many important games. So it's about giving him confidence, and he's going to be a fantastic player for us.
Erling, lots of players have talked before about it. No matter how successful you are, it's always a boost to have new players, new faces in the dressing room. Have you noticed that with the 3 new signings coming in?
Yeah, it's always nice. I've been a new player before, you know, trying to come in with a bit different energy and a bit different, I don't know, personality or whatever. So it's always nice, and also nice to get to know new people. And of course to play with good players. That's what you want, and yeah, as I said, he had an amazing first half of the season for Eintracht Frankfurt, and hopefully he's going to have the same season for us now in the second half of the season.
And of course, as they all know, you're going to be there for a long time now, so they know that you're going to be a familiar place around the club. Erling, thanks so much for joining us. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Yeah, another 9.5 years, as we know, for Erling Haaland. But for new players coming in, they know that there is a player in there who's going to guarantee them almost goals in games. Does that make a difference in terms of particularly the young players coming in?
Yeah, I think for any player that's going to sign, you want to know that the good players are staying. You know, there's obviously going to be a slight change in the next few years because there's a change in the guard. Now, Kevin De Bruyne, for me, has been the best Premier League midfield player ever, but he can't play that for that much longer. He's got a couple, maybe I think the end of the season might be his last season. And you want to know that the good players and the younger players are still going to be there, the established ones. So it's so important when you see him sign obviously it's quite unprecedented 9-year contract, but I think it's still good for everybody. It's good for City fans because he's a phenomenon. Since he's come here, the goals that he's scored, you know, he's an incredible player. And I think as a player, when you know that he's signed, it helps when everyone else wants to come in.
It's good for the Premier League as well. You know, you want the best players in this league. It's a top league. And he's certainly one of them. You know, he's world class. He's got absolutely everything. So yeah, it's a big statement from Man City to keep hold of a player like that. And also, you know, like Jamie said as well, when you're trying to attract players to the football club, I mean, Manchester City, in some ways sells itself. But obviously, to know that you've got the likes and the calibre of Erling Haaland there, it can only be good.
Yeah, and there for a long time.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah.
Look, Marmoush, as Jamie said, it was a good debut from him. Not so much for Kusanov, certainly from the early stages of the game, and we'll talk about how he recovered from this a little bit later on. But in those first few minutes, it was an error that led to a goal and a yellow card. Let's talk about the goal first, just in terms of what may or may not be going through his head from a defender's point of view, Gary.
Like I said at half-time, I think first of all his mindset will have been right. Let's keep it tidy. Let's make no mistakes. Play myself into the game. Initially, we talked about him getting his feet kind of mixed up a little bit on the flight for the header, which can be resolved in this instance. Now that's just got to be cleared, whether that's from himself or a Kanji to come across.
So as I said, once that ball's bouncing there, you see there's an awful lot of space to his left. So if he were to just, if you don't mind, maybe even just take it that way with his head, hook it with his right foot. But that one there, you just don't feel is on, just knocking it back to the goalkeeper.
I don't feel it's on. I think playing your way into the game, like we said before, as a young player coming in and just wanting to make no mistakes early on, feel your way into the game, I feel like the best option there is the first one, what you just said. Bounces, you clear it. You get rid of the danger, you ask questions after. There's also an element, what we said as well, with maybe a Kanji is maybe a bit harsh on him, maybe gives him a shout to clear it, or he comes across and takes control, but someone has to take control in that moment early on in the game and clear the lines.
Was this a bit of a mistake? So just talking about foot patterns as a centre-back, because he gets himself in a little bit of a muddle here. You can see he wants to lead with his right foot as he goes up to take on the header, but then he, at the last second, almost changes his foot pattern and then loses his momentum a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because you spotted this, didn't you, early on? And I thought, if you're looking at finer details, the first run-up when he's got his right foot in front, he's got momentum to go and then win and challenge the header. The minute he changes his feet, it almost becomes that he's standing still, so he's going from a stood still position, if that makes sense. If you go back, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I'll take that back. Hold on. Let's take that back. Because I think it is. I think it's a detail. It's almost that, and the second one compounds. Because I think if he probably wins that first header, obviously that gives him a little bit of confidence to the rest of the game. But that sort of got him into a spin, didn't it? This is the one here.
So here, you look at his right foot position. If you slow it down, oh, it's gone too fast.
You've got time, it's all right. It's the beauty of live TV. We can take our time.
So here, so when you run it slowly, He changes his foot position then, so if you go further back, as he's getting his momentum, he's running towards the play. You get momentum, you get more height, you'll be able to attack it more aggressively. The minute he changes his feet, like I say, he just goes from a stood-still position, which is very difficult to get up. To be honest, he totally mistimes it, you know, it's not even a flick on, he's totally misread the flight of the ball.
And then rather than get his head on it, he gets his shoulder on it there, and he's just in a tumble.
The business ends the second one, let's be right. You
Yeah.
just clear that and you ask questions after, like I said.
Absolutely.
So it's disappointing for the young boy to start the game like that.
He misplaced 4 of his first 7 passes.
Yeah.
And this is not a player whose profile, certainly if anybody's been looking into him in the build-up to this game, suggests that he's anything other than defensively very solid. How much of it is, he's 20 coming up for 21 at the end of February. He's just come to Manchester City. He's only been in the country for a couple of days. How much of it is down to just newness and maybe nerves?
Ken, I'm not. It's easy to be clever. It's hindsight. I said before the game, I felt it was just a bit of a risk. It's less of a risk for Marmoush, as an example, as a striker, because what the mistake he made, he misses a chance. But when you're actually playing as a centre back, it's a lot more difficult. You know, the risk and the pressure that's on you. And I actually think Pep right now will be thinking, I shouldn't have played him. Shouldn't have played him. He's 20 years of age. He's just come into the country. It's not like he's worked with his back 4. The team has not got any confidence right now as a defensive unit. You're playing right back who's Nunes. It's not like you've got an established back 4 that's playing together and you can come in when the team's winning week in, week out. Last year, this would have been an easy job. It would have been a much easier job. But this season, it's a lot more difficult. And I think throwing him into an environment like this today, it was a mistake, you know, but he's got to learn from it. And I think long term, I think it'll probably help him because after he made those initial mistakes, he did get better. But having got booked as well, it was a really difficult debut for him. I just hope it doesn't sort of damage him long term. You know, I thought the fans were really good with him in the end, but he will learn from this and hopefully become a stronger, better player.
Yeah, he got a good reception when he came off.
Yeah. And I think if I bring myself back to when I was a young player, I think the reaction after the goal, the booking, the couple of misplaced passes, you're replaying that in your head. You're replaying that in your head many times. The further down the line in my career, the more experience I got, I managed to be able to kind of dismiss that, worry about that after, which I would analyse it after. But as a young player, I was the same. I used to replay that in my head and it would affect your game. Like you said, when he did settle down, he made a couple of good blocks. And listen, football's a roller coaster. He's a young player, right? This won't be the first time he makes a mistake for a goal. It won't be the last time. So, you know.
It's been a whirlwind week. I don't know about you. I remember signing for Liverpool as a 17-year-old. You signed, you know, for Chelsea. Things happen so quickly. He's been pulled left, right and centre. And all of a sudden, he's been told he's got to play against Chelsea in a high-profile game, live on Sky. It's been difficult for him. And I'm sure social media and everybody's going, oh, he's had a night. It happens in football. You know, football's really cruel. It can be so unkind. And he made a big mistake today. From his perspective, the team have won. So hopefully now that does... Because imagine if they'd have lost 1-0 and all we do is talk about, you know, that mistake. Right now, he's just got to learn from it. He will get better, you know. But that was a tough day for him.
Is there a world in which this is actually a good thing for him, that he's kind of got it out the way? The team haven't lost anything in terms of... They've conceded the goals. Jamie said they've gone on to take all 3 points. And he's come away from it relatively unscathed. He's got it out of the way.
I'm not sure he'll think that way, Kelly, to be honest. I'm not sure he'll think that way. But what I would say is it builds character, you know. You gain experience as a young player through going through experiences, good and bad. And obviously that was a bad start in terms of a debut. But I think he'll go on from strength to strength. You know, he's working under one of the top managers in world football. And Pep's shown faith in him by starting him. You know, John Stones on the bench, which we said before, maybe he's not fully fit. He did come on and settle the ship somewhat with his experience, but he'll learn and obviously hopefully he'll grow to become a great player and have a great career.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was a tough one for him. Make no mistake. But everyone, footballers all make mistakes. It's never perfect. It's just how you bounce back from it now. And the good thing is he's going to have get back into training and make sure that he just establishes himself in that team. But it was a tough watch, that first 10 minutes for him. I felt really sorry for him.
Yeah, he'll want the next game to come. He'll want to play the next game as soon as possible. That would be my mindset.
Well, he's lucky the game's come thick and fast.
So he's got
now.
the cup final coming up soon.
He just wants to be on the starting lineup for that one. As for Manchester City going forward, particularly in that first, well, maybe not when you look at his goal-scoring record, but almost a surprising source of a lot of their threat.
We wanted to talk, because Guardiola had a couple of really good chances in just before he scored. We've highlighted him here. He's at the back. in that position. Do you think he probably should match that run, or should you leave Reece James with that one as that ball gets played?
He's like a centre forward, isn't he? He bends his run perfectly.
Yeah.
Great piece of play. But yeah, obviously it's not natural for Noni to go in them positions. Sometimes you have to track, but I think he shouted to Reece to try and pass him on, and he's kind of got him. He's in between passing him on and tracking him, and obviously he's decided not to track him.
But they were the warning signs. They were the warning signs, and I think what then happened is that City started to get in the ascendancy, started to get a little bit of confidence. All of a sudden, there's your right back, there's Guardiola, and they're starting to make really good positions, started to be aggressive, and then you never really felt Chelsea were comfortable after that. And the other player who's obviously really key to this for me is Madueke, because he's now in a position. You've got Reece James, number 24, Madueke. Yep. Reece James sort of gets attracted to Phil Foden, doesn't he?
But Guardiola's asking questions of Noni all the time. Noni doesn't want to be in that position, really.
Exactly.
And he's asking questions of him all the time.
What about the left-back's part in this? Cucurella, already, we're just going to highlight him. You can see that he's now looking over his shoulder. He knows he's got a bit of a problem with Nunes. Could he do better? Because it feels like he wants to play offside, but you can't do that when you've got Madueke up there.
Yeah, I think, hindsight, I think potentially if he looks back at this, maybe he sees him there, he has a glance, and he has another glance again. He's aware that he's coming, but he chooses to step forward instead of stepping back. I think in that occasion, he would have been better off maybe tracking the run as well. And there's a man again, there's a threat.
He had more touches than any other Manchester City player in the Chelsea box.
Yeah, but this is why I feel, once you get into that position, he now has become a right back. Whatever way you look at it, there is your conventional right back in this system, and that's Reece James. So you then have to think like a defender. And as that ball gets played, Nunes obviously does what he does. Just watch what Madueke does. He just falls asleep. You've got to stay with him. Now you've got to look. Now he's jogging. He's still jogging. He doesn't react. He doesn't sense that danger. Guardiola, if he matches him stride for stride.
Manchester City in the second half particularly seemed like they came into there and they had more control in the game, as you've both said. And if you've got Erling Haaland, there's always a chance that there's going to be a goal. We looked at this with him earlier. What did you make of it?
Old school's becoming a new school. And do you know what?
Doesn't it always?
Kelly, I watch football. I watch academy football. We watch Premier League, Championship, and we'll watch the goals on a Monday morning on Sky Sports News. And how many goals will we see where teams are trying to play out from the back when it's not on? They lose the ball, the goalkeeper's not comfortable, all of a sudden the ball ends in the back of your neck, and you go, oh, well, that was a shame, but when we play lovely football? This, I think it's about using common sense at times. When you see what Chelsea are trying to do here, it's not the most intense pressing you like, but you can see they're going man for man. There's Sancho, he's going into John Stones there. You've got Cole Palmer's going to come into Akanji. Obviously, in midfield, Kovacic is getting tightly marked. You're getting marked in there as well with Caicedo, and you've got Fernandes is going to pop in. And then as this sort of unfolds now, you can see that you've got a 1v1 that's starting to develop here. You can see that Trevor Chalobah is going to end up in a bit of a position. Two things I want you to look at is Phil Foden, and I want you to look at Pep Guardiola, because Phil Foden now is going to take Levi Colwill into a position that, as a centre-back, do you really want to be going in that way? I know it's the modern way going. We have to accept that. But would you be happy going into that area?
No, because I think obviously I'd leave my centre-back 1v1, which is brave. The way they've set up there is brave. Like you said, it's man v man. And if that's the setup, then obviously he has to go in there. Yeah. Because if he doesn't, Ederson has the quality to drop that into Phil.
Absolutely. Well, one person who certainly knew it was Pep Guardiola. Yeah. Pep now, he's looking and he's thinking to himself, great, we've got a 1v1, we've got a goalkeeper that can kick it like a mule, who's one of the best. I've never seen a left foot like it. He kicks it so far, this guy. So why not beat that press? Why try to play it when it's not really on? We're not that comfortable, when the confidence isn't there. HAALAND does brilliant as well, Gary, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Do you know what, Man City, I love Man City with this aspect, because everyone knows them for building up, for playing the intricate passes and all the rest of it, and all the nice-looking football. They have this weapon, and they do use it. Yeah. So sometimes I feel like teams get fixated in playing out and forcing to play out when it's not on. They have no problem with going long if they need to, especially when you've got a target man like him. I would not want to be isolated 1v1 with him, like Trevor was. And yeah, it's a strange decision from the goalkeeper. I think you see him after his reaction when he hit the ground. He knows he's found himself in no man's land there.
And really. Haaland said that. You can see the moment that Robert Sanchez changes his mind when he's running out towards him. He pauses in the middle of it and almost starts running backwards.
I think he's frustrated with himself because he's obviously took up a high position because the ball's with the goalkeeper at the other end. So naturally the goalkeeper's going to take up a high position. I think the error that he makes is instead of retreating back to his goal, he stayed in that high position and almost, you know, he's come across. You just see him coming into the picture now in a minute. Here.
Yeah.
And then he finds himself stranded a little bit.
Yeah.
And makes the decision easy for someone
this
like
is
Haaland.
I think this is the angle here. I think
Yeah.
when you look at Sanchez, right, you understand that your centre backs, as I wouldn't say he's in complete control, but he's in not a bad position. Just stay where you are. Why you even make up his mind, Gary? That's what I don't understand. Look, where are you running? You're not going to get that ball. You can see there that there's probably a 7. He's lightning Haaland. You are not going to make up that distance. If he stays in his goal, you're going to create a 2v1 any second because Cucurella's going to get back. But as soon as he goes out there, he just makes it. He makes up his mind. Don't get me wrong, it's great centre forward play, isn't it? But if he stays in his goal, this doesn't happen. It's really poor.
Yeah, I mean, there's recovery runs that Cucurella's coming back in. There's still a lot to do for Haaland if I think the goalkeeper just retreats and goes back on his line. Like I said, you can see his frustration when he hits the ground. I think he knows himself. And someone of Haaland's quality, you know, it makes it quite easy for him. Oh, it's lovely. When he, because like he said, he saw the goal. You can see the goalkeeper in your peripheral vision. You're going lovely. Just get this back on my left foot, and he curled it in. A really good piece of play, and nothing more than they deserved second half. They were much the better side, and obviously then the icing on the cake was from Phil Foden, who's hit some great form. Been a really poor start to the season. Surprised me for whatever reason. I don't know. He got, I think, 25 goals last season. Had an amazing season. The Euros props wasn't his best. And just sort of lost his confidence after that. But again, Gary, long ball football. But because it's Pep, we'll accept it, I guess.
Well, it's long passes rather than lumping it
It's
forward,
long ball, Kel. It's long ball. Let's not kid ourselves. We love it.
There's a difference between a pass and a punt, isn't there?
I like Pep. What's Pep here? Look, he knows. He's thinking to himself, right, get a flick here. Look at him. This is brilliant. Look. He just plays it, and he sees, he goes, come on in. We know we're in business again. You've got a 1v1.
It's decision-making as well from the goalie, isn't it? You know what I mean? If he knows it's not on to play, then sometimes, like I said, you've got that option to go long.
Trevor Chalobah gets a bit attracted to the ball, try to get a 2v1, and what they end up missing out on is the run, obviously, from Phil Foden, Gary. Yeah, like you say, he's hit form. He's a top player, and I think, you know, sometimes you do hit a dip in form, and he had that at the start of the season, but certainly he's back to his normal self now with goal scoring. But again, great piece of play by Haaland, very difficult, so strong. And he just pops it off. And 1v1, you know, you fancy Phil, especially in this fall, to finish that. I bet you Erling Haaland loves this as well. It's perfect for him. Because I don't think he likes that.
Does it feel more like Dortmund?
Yeah, because I don't think the intricacies of the game and sometimes those little subtleties and tight areas, that is necessarily his strength. But if you say to him, you're going to have a battle with a centre-back, go like man for man, you try and stop me, I think that's when he comes into his element, Gary.
I played with Diego Costa, and he was very much, if we wanted to play football and play nice football, he'd get involved in that. If he wanted to have a target man and have a little bit of a wrestle, he'll get involved in that as well. It's like what I said about Erling. He's got everything. He can run in behind, he can hold the ball up, his finishing, his pace, his power, so he's a threat.
Yeah, look at that, 6 goals in the last 4 Premier League games for Phil Foden as well, and 7 in his last 7 in the Premier League. As you said, that early season form, forgotten now. He's in a purple patch. Yeah, absolutely. It's good for him. He's got to keep that going now because the City they've still got a lot to play for. Not going to win the title, but they can certainly find some form and, you know, challenge in the Champions League if they can win this week and, you know, cup competition still. So it's a lot to play for them still. When we were talking about Arsenal and their propensity for free kicks and dead ball situations, Tony Pulis was absolutely delighted. He said, I knew everybody would come round to my way of thinking. Now he's seeing Pep Guardiola and Manchester City playing long ball football. I think he's going to be even happier. But it's so effective for Manchester City. Pep Guardiola's side have picked up back-to-back wins in the Premier League. This time a 3-1 win over Chelsea. We'll hear from the City boss next.
Pep, there was a lot in that. Impressive, would you say, given the injuries that you've had, what happened in midweek and the start to this match, the way you've come back and taken all 3 points?
Yeah, it was not the best start, and we were lucky that they couldn't punish us with the 2-0, but after that we recovered emotionally really strong. And we make a good performance, especially for the team we are playing. At the end we had more the ball than the last games, and that make us, you know, to have chances to play, and they just 3 points, but of course in the situation that we are, and especially for the game, the final we have next Wednesday, so it was really important.
Kujanov, how is he?
He didn't speak English, so I didn't speak with him. we'll be fine. So understand, come for the first time, didn't make 1 or 2 training sessions. I don't want to push John because come from the injury because I need him from Wednesday, and he will learn. As much he's aware of what happened, he will learn.
It is an education, isn't it? Football can be brutal as well in those moments, but when you made that substitution, the way that his teammates, the way that support staff, the way that the fans supported him, appreciated the composure that he managed to find once the nerves had settled a bit for him?
Especially the players, how they were together. We talk a lot these days about that, and that was massively important because in that moment, any player can make a mistake, in that terms. And after that, you feel alone is even tougher. So, and the fans, I know, the new players always support, and he's so young and come from many years, and he will learn.
And we saw glimpses of Mamouche and what he can do as well, and what positives you can take from that, and what he can take from that from his debut today.
No, absolutely. Omar, have a tough opponent. James, physicality strong, and again, so just we'll talk about some images, some never could practice, but he made an incredible movement that the players in the middle could not see him. So I think Gundo and Kova and Bernie, they should be more clever in the movements at the high line than Chelsea had to be in contact. But this question of time that that know each other, because at the end we don't know the movements of him or the movements he likes and need time. So, but he plays 75 minutes good because again he cannot play on Wednesday and yeah, so it's important for them make a debut and win.
Relief maybe perhaps for you because of the manner in which you secured all 3 points as well in the position that you were coming into this match. How big a win is this over Chelsea?
Of course it is. Always is important against Chelsea. And of course we are the situation that we are, but now we are closer than Nottingham, but of course Bournemouth continues with impressive run, so there are a lot of teams in the margin from nothing, but our games at home, so we have today here, we have Newcastle, we have Liverpool, we have Brighton, we have Bournemouth, we have Aston Villa, all the teams that we are fighting for the Champions League, they come here to head, and as much we will be stronger here, we have a chance to qualify.
And last question, I know you don't do business in the January transfer window, and this has been a one exception. Will you strengthen further with the remaining week or so?
I don't know.
You don't know? Would you like to?
I don't know. What I would like is to have my team start this season back. I said many times. So we go to the market, maybe we'll do it in summer because we have unbelievable problems during 4 or 5 months in the beginning of the season. When more or less the team will be fit in terms of central defenders, the holding midfielders, we are now gone to the market. So it's simple. So, and what happened, the club decide. These kind of things always the club cheeky, and the club decide what they have to do.
Pep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So no indication from Pep Guardiola about whether they may or may not go again in the transfer market. Let's take a look at one of the players that they have gone for in Omar Mamouche and thoughts on his performance. As Guardiola says, it's going to take time for other players to spot his runs and to play him in. But how do you think he did?
I thought he looked lively. Gary, what's your opinion?
I thought he looked lively. I thought it was good minutes for him. More experience out of the signings that they've made. He's obviously got an eye for goal. You see his record, is it 15 in 17 games? So now he looks sharp. I thought he was pretty impressive. That was a great cross as well, wasn't it?
He's got those fast twitch fibres. Look at him, he runs into space.
The ones
that's
I never
what
had.
he likes, He's going to be a good player, and he's going to certainly get goals. He'll give you another option. We said at the start of the show, Gary and I were saying, when you lost Alvarez, you lose a lot of goals. And certainly if he's going to play off one of the wide areas, because Haaland's predominantly going to be in number 9, I think Doku's got 3 goals. Savino's got 1 Premier League goal. I don't think Grealish has scored a Premier League goal this season from a wide area. If you go back in the history of the great Man City sides, wide men were always scoring goals. Sterling, players like that, there was goal. Mahrez would score goals. So he will add certainly another dimension with his tremendous pace. But no, as debuts go, I think he'll be certainly satisfied. He'd love to have got his goal, but he'd be pleased to be on the winning team.
Yeah, they're looking to build those relationships with him. They've only just been in the country for a couple of days, as we said, about all the new signings. But Mamouche is one who, as you say, impressed on his debut without getting that goal that may well have signed it. And what's interesting about the players that they've brought in, Vitares was on the bench. He's only 19, about to turn 20 at the beginning of February. Kusanov will turn 21 at the end of February. And Marmoush is just 25. How much of that do you think is about lowering the age profile of the squad as well? Because that's something that has been kind of laid at Manchester City's door.
Yeah, and it's crept up on you, and you've obviously picked up injuries. They've had, I mean, John Stones is a phenomenal centre-back, but when he's had a few injuries, Nathan Ake's had a few injuries, he just puts a little bit of pressure on. But when you're normally signing those two players, Reis and Kusanov, you're thinking for the future, you're not necessarily going right now, especially as a defender.
Yep.
I know, what age were you when you made your debut, Gary?
In the Premier League, 1920.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's dispelled that myth. But
I think you're probably right, but I think Man City's been hit with a lot of injuries this season, which has been well documented. I think once, you know, all the centre-backs are fit, you get Ake back, you get Diaz back, you get John Stones fully fit, then maybe these obviously sit underneath that at this moment in time and learn from them players. But because of the injuries, I mean, Pep just touched upon that in the interview, that obviously the reason John Stones probably didn't start is because he's looking for the next game that he's going to play him, and he's worried obviously about the injuries, so that's why he got thrown in.
Yeah, and we'll look at those games in a second as well. But having got three in the market, and Guardiola's saying, look, whatever the board decide to do and whoever they decide to bring in will be great. But he also talked, as you said, about the players who are missing. One of them, and maybe the most important, is Rodri, and the player they've struggled most without. Everything we hear is that he's slightly ahead of schedule in terms of his recovery, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be available anytime soon. That may be somewhere they could look in the transfer market and look to replace him, even with a view to just having cover or somebody to succeed Rodri in the long term.
Yeah, I think that's an option. Obviously, it's a big blow having Rodri out at this moment in time, but I think if there was anywhere, me looking at it personally, if there's anywhere they could strengthen, would be probably the holding midfield. Someone who's got legs, someone who can put out fires, someone a bit like Casado, Kante, Declan Rice, that kind
Douglas
of...
Luiz had a mention, as a loan, which would make a bit of sense. Hasn't quite worked out for him at Juve. But one thing I thought as well, Gary, just watching them today, is that how short they've left themselves at right back as well, with Kyle Walker now leaving. Because Núñez isn't a right back. He signed as a central midfield player. He's found himself playing left wing. Today he finds himself playing right back. He can do it, and he did OK today, but as a right back for the team long term, I don't think he would even want to play there. So I think that's an area they're going to have to find as well. But it's difficult, and how quickly things can change with City. You know, 6 months ago they'd won the title when everything looked perfect and rosy in the garden. All of a sudden now you start chasing it. You're trying to buy players in January. That isn't normally their model, but they know they need to strengthen and needs must right now.
But it just takes a couple of deals in the transfer window for everything to start rolling into place. With just the first domino to fall, and suddenly it all goes down to the wire. You can follow every moment of deadline day on Sky Sports News. It's on Thursday. Get your piece of yellow clothing or however you want to celebrate yourself. It gets more commercialised every year. Look, that's all to look forward to, and that's in the future for Manchester City. In the immediate future, they have this run of probably 7 games, which their season could really turn on. They face 4 of the current top 5 in the Premier League. They've got the big game coming up against Bruges, which is a must-win game for them just to stay in this season's Champions League. And they've got Leyton Orient away in the FA Cup. Their whole season could hinge on this, next month or so?
Yeah, well, I think they're certs to win in the Champions League against Club Bruges, just how I see it. And then they've got obviously some really big games coming after that. You know, Arsenal away is going to be a difficult one for them, and then, you know, look too far away. Newcastle are in fabulous form, Liverpool, but they'll obviously. But the other side of it, those two sides are thinking that's going to be a tough fixture.
And it's at the Etihad. Yeah. Both those games, sorry.
Leyton Orient in the Cup away, so that's one way you can. But it's so many games coming thick and fast. But you know what? You've won many titles, Gary. That's what you love as well as a player, isn't it?
So you look at them games, they look huge. But Man City are used to playing in big games. You're saying that as if it's a fear factor. I think they're used to playing in these big games. The squad is, the manager is. The pressure of these might even catapult them, you know, to the level that to get back to close to the level where they used to be in. But certainly these next few games are going to determine the season. You know, they go through against Club Bruges. They win in the FA Cup, and all of a sudden they're sat in Champions League positions, you know, going for 2 trophies again. So it's a big period for them.
Quick correction to make. Transfer deadline day is Monday, not Thursday. Monday,
I've
not
just planned
Thursday.
my outfit
So
for
this is
Thursday, Kel. You
fine.
throw me into
you
a
haven't
spin.
got your phones, you didn't set your reminders, don't worry about it. If you did set your reminder on your phone, it's Monday for Transfer Deadline Day, and you'll be across everything on Sky Sports News. By the way, if you want to tune in on Thursday, you're more than welcome to do that as well. There'll be lots for you to keep across on Sky Sports News and across our digital platforms. Up next, though, we're going to be talking about Enzo Maresca, and we will hear from the Chelsea boss. They went 1-up in this game against City, but ended up on the losing side. We'll hear from him next.
Enzo, was that more frustration after the start you were gifted right at the very beginning of this match?
Yeah, as you said, the game started very well for us, very good. We scored the first one. We could score the second one 2-3 times, 2-3 chances that I think scoring the second one, the game completely changed. Unfortunately, we miss. And then against this team, this kind of players, the game is always open. They can decide the game in any moment. And unfortunately, we finish losing the game.
You say that, but why didn't you push on when you had that period of play just after scoring that first goal, when you were on top and when the mood and there was just a sense of nervousness around the stadium?
Yeah, but I think we were there because after we scored the first one, we could score the second one in 2-3 different moments. So the team was there. Then, unfortunately, the last 5 minutes, the last minutes, we conceded the 1-1. And then second half, I think the second goal changed a little bit the game.
You say the second goal, Erling Haaland's second goal, and Robert Sanchez again. And I know people have been talking about him, and he has had his negativity, the publicity and the criticism of him as well. Is it confidence or just decision-making that he's doing that's so wrong?
Well, in this moment, I think it's a bit mixed. Robert, the good thing is that Robert is the first one that he knows that he has to do better.
How does he do better then?
But working hard every day, and for sure he's going to do better.
Do you say anything to him? Do your goalkeeping staff say anything to him to encourage him to try and show more character and more strength?
No, yeah, for sure. But not only with Robert. We try to have a conversation with all of them. For sure, in this moment, Robert is where he is in this moment. But as I said, he is the first one knowing, aware that probably he has to do better.
And the team overall, second half, because the match just seemed to fade away, how do you get that ruthlessness into a team? It's a young team as well, because you are making progression, aren't you? You are doing it, but bit by bit.
Yeah, we are making progress, as you said. For me, for sure we are better than 1 month ago, 2 months ago, because this kind of games, this kind of moment, they are going to make us better and better. But we are where we are, and we see at the end.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, two main reasons really there given for why Chelsea turned that from a 1-0 lead into a 3-1 defeat. We'll come on to the second of them in a second. But Robert Sanchez is one that we've talked about before, and we talked about his maybe error of judgment, can we call it, in the
and he just needs to eradicate that out of his game, you know, because obviously a little bit of noise comes from making mistakes, a little bit of pressure on your back comes from making mistakes, and there's a couple of times this season that he's done that. He's also kept him in games at times. I've seen him produce some amazing saves. He can play, I think, out from the back, which obviously Enzo wants to happen in terms of the first phase in a build-up, but he needs to eradicate these mistakes, which today was definitely one, and I'm sure he'll know that.
I think if you're playing any other position, probably get maybe a rest, as we call it, but when you're a goalkeeper, it's a bit more difficult. The problem is I don't think that necessarily that the other goalkeepers are maybe at that top level either. So he's probably thinking, what's the best thing to do? The problem is it just gives nerves to everybody. It's becoming very public now. I think the Chelsea fans get a little bit anxious when he's on the ball, if he's going to make a mistake, and he compounds it by doing things like today. That's purely decision making. It's just a bad decision that he makes. He doesn't have to come out there like he did. If he just stays in his goal, Haaland doesn't probably score. So just poor goalkeeping from his point of view. But the only thing you can do, and we've all been there, we've all made mistakes. Pep Guardiola touched on it. He's got to work hard in training, keep doing the right things. hopefully he can turn this little run of form that he's got at the moment, which hasn't been good enough, turn it around. But it's not looking good for him at the moment.
If there's inconsistencies from the goalkeeper, one of the other ways of dealing with that is to score at the other end. And that's the other problem that Maresca pointed to there, which was that they had chances in the first half to put this game beyond Manchester City. Yes,
I was frustrated for Chelsea in the first half. I thought they played really well. This was a big chance from Cole. I wonder if he'd take it himself, but he's just overcooked that pass. And maybe a confident Nicholas Jackson plays that first time with his left foot. But I agree with what he said, they did create chances, they looked a threat, they looked the better team in the first half. And in them moments, that's when you have to kind of smell blood and you have to be ruthless in them moments. And you go 2-3-0 up, like the manager's just said, and it's a totally different game. They did it recently, actually. I watched it against Bournemouth. They went 1-0 up, played really well in the first half, created many chances. Next minute, they're 2-1 down. So they need to find that cutting edge and be ruthless in front of goal. Yeah, ruthless in front of goal and maybe sharper, Jamie.
Yeah, and that would be the miss today for them, because I felt at half-time you could almost only see one winner. You felt Chelsea were going to be in control of the game. They had a really good starting position in that first half where they were pressing them. They got the balance right defensively. But then second half, it just the game got away from them, and that would be the disappointment. The impact players that we talk about, Cole Palmer didn't get on the ball second half. He never found any pockets of space. And once City started to get that little bit of a stranglehold on the game, which they've really struggled to in so many Premier League games of late, and even Champions League games, they got a little bit, I don't know, especially after their result in midweek, Chelsea, I thought Man City, I thought it was a great time to get after them second half. And if anything, City looked the fitter side out of the two.
Lots more football coming up for you on Sky Sports. Lots more.